Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alright, so today I'm going to be drinking the strongest hard cider I've ever seen. What I have with me today is the Potter's Craft Cider Imperial Dry Hard Cider, which contains an ABV of 8.2%. For context, what I normally drink when it comes to cider ranges anywhere between 4.5 to 5.5%. So this is, at a minimum, 3% stronger than what I normally drink. This is, without a doubt, the strongest hard cider I've ever seen. And so when I saw it on the shelf at a local store near me, I knew I had to have it, and I knew I had to make a video about it, especially for the price I paid. I ended up spending $3.49 on this cider right here. And as we can tell, it's a tall boy can. It's 568 milliliters or 19.2 fluid ounces. That is, in my opinion, a really good price, because in my local area, cider can be quite expensive, to say the least. But how will this cider actually be? I don't know, but I am very excited to find out. Because today I want some alcohol outside as the sun slowly sets on a mildly chilly day. And that's exactly what today is, and I'm hoping that this will be good enough to get me a buzz. Well, I'm hoping it will be good enough for me to want to drink. It certainly is strong enough to get me a buzz, that is for sure. Some other items of interest to mention about this cider before we go ahead and start covering the packaging is that it's gluten-free, it's vegan, and that it contains 0 sugar. Don't know if I've ever had a hard cider made with 0 sugar before. And this is also a dry cider. So I don't know what I'm going to think of it. Most of the time I tend to go for semi-dries. I like a little bit of a dry hit, but I'm not like a full-on dry cider type of person. I don't know how much I'm going to end up enjoying this. I hope it's not too sour. Let me just put it that way. Either way, though, I am very excited for this experience today. I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and quickly cover the packaging that this cider came in. Then, after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and crack it open, let you guys know what the cider inside this can actually smells like, and then after that, I should probably take a sip, get to drinking, find out just how it is, let y'all know as well, and once I'm done drinking, if I finish the rest of the can, I will let y'all know if it's something I will buy again, and I'll also let y'all know just what my final thoughts are on it, and I'll let y'all know what the rating I think it deserves is as well. But first off, as said, we've got to cover the packaging, and as said, this is most certainly a tall boy can of alcohol, and the sort of design on it is not printed on by any means. It's instead a label that is rolled and glued down onto the silver base of the can. Taking a look at the top, we can see it's just a normal can sort of top, nothing too special going on. We can see that silver down here as well, with some very small yet oddly shaped, like oddly they're not really like oddly shaped per se, but these, they feel like they're meant to be there, and I don't know if they are. I don't know if that's like a dent that happened in shipping or what, but these, they really do look like they're meant to be there for some reason. I don't know why they would be there, but there are some dents right there. But we can see the silver on top right there, and then right below that, we go to the, label that's rolled around the can and glued down. Background-wise, we can see we get a black background with some little designs and whatnot. We can see there's some like white lines and stuff like that up here and whatnot kind of thing. And those all make for the, I would have to say, lines and details of leaves and branches and stuff like that. We can see a little bit of green really making up what those leaves are. We can see some apples right there, a little bit more orange right there, another apple right there, some more leaves, some more sort of white lines, adding in all the details, adding in all the I would have to say, like, oh man, what's the right way of putting it? Adding in all of the sort of just like leaf particles, leaf lines. I don't know what the correct definition is. But like all the details of the leaves, that's all made up of these white lines, but we can see the outline as well as made up of that white. We can see an apple down there, an apple over there, a little bit of half one right there where it kind of loops over, another one right there, and then there's something going on up here. I think that's another apple right there, and I really like how the design kind of fades in and fades out. It gets very bold right here and then fades out down here just a little bit kind of thing. Overall, I think design-wise, this definitely looks like a craft cider without a doubt, but overall, the background, it's pretty nice. It's not bad by any means. It's not my exact cup of tea per se, but hey, it's not a bad design, and it looks pretty good if you ask me. Taking a look at the foreground, not the background now, we can see there's some text up here. Just says Imperial Cider right there, 8.2%, 0 grams of sugar. Just says Imperial Cider once again, 8.2% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar, and then we just wrap all the way around. Below this text right here, we can see in white, it just says 8.2% alcohol per volume, 0 sugar, gluten-free, and then we see the Potter's Craft Cider logo itself right there. Looks like we have like a little bit of a house, some rolling hills or maybe mountains, and we get a little bit of an apple tree right here, and in the leaves it just says Potter's right there, and then Craft Cider towards the bottom on the rolling hills. The design itself is made up of a white with black details and some lines and some grass and some apples up here as well kind of thing. Definitely, I would have to say this is very much a craft cider brand type of logo without a doubt. And they definitely are trying to market themselves as being a craft cider because that's exactly what it says on the logo itself. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the Potter's Craft Cider sort of logo or emblem, I would say. Down here, sort of in the foreground above the background, just like this, we could see it says Imperial Dry Cider right there, all in white. Then there's a little bit of a line, and then below that, it just says 19.2 ounces, 568 milliliters. Then it just says gluten-free, 8.2% alcohol per volume, 0 grams of sugar. And yeah, that's all that's really going on right here on the packaging. Moving over this way, we can see the exact same design again, just with a slightly different background. We can see there's an apple right there, whereas it's not replicated in its entirety on this one, but there are like 2 different sides to this can, I suppose is really the right way of putting it, but we've already covered all the details, so we don't need to cover that again. Taking a look over here, though, we do get some useful information about what this cider is. We can see the barcode down here, and then it goes on to talk about what the ingredients are. It says ingredients, apples, natural flavor, and that's it, apparently. Just says government warning. Basically, pregnant women should not drink alcoholic beverages. Has their website. Just says where this is on the dry to sweet scale. Says that this is not like a pure dry, but it is certainly more towards a dry than not. Then above that, it just says fermented and packaged by Potter's Craft Cider, Charlottesville, Virginia. Just says gluten-free, vegan, contains sulfites, and then there's a little bit of a QR code as well. And yeah, that's really all there is to the actual sort of label design on this can. Nothing too crazy going on by any means, and definitely, without a doubt, very much a craft sort of cider or craft sort of beer look. Just a craft alcohol look in general. Taking a look at the bottom of the can, nothing too crazy going on, just silver as we can see. I can't really read the numbers right there very well, but I figure that might have something to do with an expiration date. Not exactly sure, but yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the packaging. Overall, a solid look in my personal opinion, and I do suppose without further ado, before I go ahead and get this cracked open, I should probably try to grab a little bit of a thumbnail as the sun is starting to set. We've got some good lighting right now, so let's go ahead and grab a thumbnail right now. The can is very cold in my hands, though. It's been sitting in my fridge for like the last week. It is super cold in my hands. My hand is like, my hand is like starting to like, my fingers are freezing over. It's okay, though. It ain't too big of a deal. All right, well, hopefully one of those will do as a thumbnail for the video. Do suppose without further ado, it is time for me to crack open the strongest hard cider I've ever seen, and it's time for me to go ahead and give it a smell. I'm expecting this to smell a little bit dry, a little bit like apples, if I had to guess, and probably a little bit stronger than the ciders that I'm used to. I was about to say let's go ahead and get it cracked open, but this is so far down that I cannot lift it up with my fingers. So let's use my bottle. I just lifted up the lid, or the can cracker opener, and then it went right back down and splattered tap water all over me because I rinsed off the lid of, or the top of this can in the sink before this video, because there was some gunk on it after sitting in my fridge for a little while. Just some dust and stuff that I didn't feel like consuming today. Let's go ahead, crack it open though, I do think. Ooh. All right, decent noise, nothing crazy, decent noise. Let's give it a smell. All right, this, right off the bat, sweet and dry is what I'm smelling, but predominantly a sour-ish dry smell is very much what I'm smelling. I am smelling I would have to say, tangy, sweet, but predominantly sour and slightly bitter, citrusy, apple-y scent. Very sort of, I would totally say Granny Smith apples-esque, because that's like the most sour apple that like I've ever really had as just being an apple. And the sourness is definitely very reminiscent of, like, let's say a Granny Smith apple, but the actual smell itself is a little bit different. I don't know exactly what apples they use to make this cider. I figure maybe a mixture of a bunch of different ones. I'm not exactly sure in all honesty, but there's definitely a little bit of that sort of apple, like Granny Smith apple sort of sourness to the smell. Don't know if they actually use Granny Smith apples. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, but that sour smell certainly is pretty appetizing without a doubt. Overall, it definitely smells not nearly as sweet as something like, let's say, Strongbow or Stella Artois hard cider or something along those lines. Definitely smells a little bit more dry without a doubt. This smells more in line with something like, let's say, the Citizen Cider Unified Press, I would have to say, which is my current favorite hard cider. I really like that one. That one's a semi-dry. Yeah. No, smells pretty good overall. Smells like a dry, hard cider, as one would expect. And even though this is the strongest hard cider that I have ever seen up until this point, it doesn't smell stronger than other ones, which is pretty interesting. Well, I do suppose without further ado, I should probably go ahead and get to drinking. I've got an entire 568 milliliter can to work through, so I think I should probably go ahead and get to drinking. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take my first sip of the strongest hard cider I've ever seen. Let's go ahead and get to drinking, and let's find out just how this beverage actually is. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? Wow. Yeah, it's dry. But it's not sour dry. Like, there is sourness in there. But I have had way more sour hard cider before. Like, so sour where I'm like, that's a warhead. And I wasn't expecting a warhead type experience from this cider, especially based off the smell by any means. But I certainly was expecting more sourness. And I can definitely tell just with how it's going down that it is 8%. It is easy to tell that it is 8%. It's not like it's rough going down. It's not like it's burning when it's going down my throat or anything like that by any means. But I can just tell there's a little bit more alcohol in it than most other ciders, than any other cider I've ever tried. And honestly, compared to any other cider I've ever tried, it also has a very unique mouthfeel to it. Now, it says that this cider contains 0 sugar. And when I bought it, I saw that, and I was like, well, maybe 0 added sugar then, not actually 0 sugar. I don't know if it's 0 added sugar, if it's just 0 sugar, but they do say 0 grams of sugar. Even if it's not added, and it's just coming from the apples itself, sugar is sugar. And pretty much every hard cider I've ever tried has had some amount of added sugar, even if it is very little. And due to that added sugar, and just due to the sugar from the apples in general, normally, hard cider has more of a, I would have to say, slightly syrupy sort of mouthfeel to it kind of thing. Not quite to the same degree as, like, let's say, Coca-Cola for a lot of hard ciders out there, unless you're drinking Strongbow, because Strongbow is extremely sweet. But a lot of times there's just a little bit of a syrupy flavor in there, or just a sort of like, you could just tell it's got a little bit of a syrupy or sugary sort of mouthfeel. You can feel the sugar. This, on the other hand, the mouthfeel, while it is still definitively a cider mouthfeel, the carbonation just comes across like a hard cider, and just how it rolls over the tongue comes across like a cider. It's very different. And while it is certainly a cider mouthfeel, I can definitely tell with this cider, they're trying to not just compete with other ciders. They're also trying to compete with White Claw. Because the mouthfeel of this cider right here, more so than anything, is kind of reminiscent of the mouthfeel from, like, let's say, a White Claw Surge, like 8% drink. That's really, truly what the mouthfeel reminds me from this cider right here. That is a low sugar White Claw. I think it has like 3 grams of sugar in it for like 600 milliliters or something like that kind of thing. And honestly, you know, I'm not surprised they're aiming for that at all. Because the Potter's Craft Cider Imperial Dry that I'm drinking today is around about the same price as a single of the White Claw Surge, and it's got a pretty similar mouthfeel. And both of those drinks, both the drink I'm having today and the White Claw, they both contain very low sugar. Yeah, honestly, I think this is a craft cider. I think this is a cider that is trying to compete with White Claw, which is so odd. That is so odd. This is, I'm not going to say the most unique hard cider I've ever had. That has got to go to the Fuji hard cider I tried from Japan. That thing tasted like a warhead. But this is still one of the most unique ciders I've ever had. Wow. And it goes down really easy kind of thing. Now, due to the lack of sugar, though, I would have to say the taste of this cider is not quite as potent as some other ciders out there. I would even say the taste of this cider is not as potent as Stella Artois or Strongbow, and certainly not the Citizen Cider Unified Press, and certainly not that Japanese hard cider I had previously. The taste is probably the most mild taste I've ever experienced from any hard cider in the past. And that doesn't surprise me either, because the White Claw Surge 8% have an extremely mild taste as well. Excuse me. So I am not at all surprised that the taste is mild. And that just, once again, makes me think that Potter's Craft Cider is absolutely trying to compete with White Claw with this beverage right here. Same price point, very similar mouthfeel, zero sugar or like low sugar, just like the White Claw, and a very mild flavor overall that is, it's not like it's, I think the best way to describe the flavor, it's super mild, and due to the fact that it's so mild, it's hard to hate. Like, I definitely think there's love it or hate it ciders out there. That's very much a thing with the cider world, in my opinion. There are absolutely love it or hate it ciders out there. I have had ciders that I hate, and I have had ciders that I love, and then there's ciders in the middle. But there are so many love it or hate it ciders. And that's just kind of how cider is as a segment of alcohol kind of thing. With this, on the other hand, if you enjoy cider, just to begin with, I don't think that this will ever be your favorite hard cider, if I had to guess. Unless this is maybe what you start drinking as your first ever cider. But for me, at least, as somebody who's been drinking cider for years, so I think hard cider was like my first ever alcohol I ever had. As somebody who's been drinking hard cider for years and years, this is definitely not my favorite hard cider. Nor will it ever be. There's just not enough flavor going on, kind of thing. But it's still pretty dang good. It's 8%, it's smooth. The taste itself is solid. It's just so mild that, like, honestly, after 30 seconds, it kind of just fades from your mouth and you just forget you were even drinking. That's kind of how it is, frankly put. This is really, really, really easy to drink. Yeah, I'm honestly impressed at how easy this is to drink. It's kind of crazy. I've had 5% ciders that totally come across like they have more alcohol in them than this. This is super smooth. For 8.2%, this is crazy smooth. I mean, like, we haven't gotten to the very end yet. We are probably about halfway through the can right now. I would say, at this point, this cider I'm drinking is actually smoother than an 8% White Claw. And, you know, I'm going to say it, it's smoother than a lemon-flavored Strong Zero 9% from Japan. Not, like, much smoother, but slightly, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting. The flavor itself, it's so mild. And as said, I really don't think, like, if you're somebody who really, really, really enjoys cider, I don't think that this cider is ever going to be your favorite. Just because the flavor itself is so mild that it just is kind of not memorable. It's not really memorable. And I don't think it's meant to be. This is meant to be an 8% drink that you drink to get a buzz, and it's meant to compete with White Claw. Is White Claw meant to be memorable? No, it's White Claw. This is the White Claw of hard cider. That's the best way of describing what this is. This is the 8% White Claw of hard cider. To put it another way, this is the Strong Zero of hard cider. No question in my mind. This is the Strong Zero of hard cider. Yeah. One could even say that this might be the Four Loko of hard cider. It's not meant to be like a memorable drink to have. It's not meant to be a $200 whiskey or anything like that kind of thing. It's not meant to be a boutique, like, super crazy, wild tasting hard cider or anything like that kind of thing. It's meant to be a hard cider that gets you a buzz, doesn't give you a hangover because it has so much sugar in it, and it's supposed to just give you a good time. The cider itself is not supposed to be the memorable part of the night. It's supposed to be the experience you have while drinking it. Yeah, wow. And honestly, I mean, like, at this point in a cider, a lot of times just due to the amount of sugar in the cider, I start feeling extremely buzzed. I'm a lightweight when it comes to alcohol, but I am also a lightweight when it comes to sugar. And so when I'm drinking alcohol that contains a ton of sugar, the buzz is just insanely exemplified to me. Not in this case, though. There is absolutely zero sugar in this beverage, because all I'm feeling right now is an alcohol buzz. There's no sugar buzz. All I'm feeling is an alcohol buzz. Wow. I gotta admit, I am impressed. I am impressed. Excuse me. The Potter's Craft Cider Imperial Dry, 8.2%. Extremely smooth. So smooth. Smoother than 8% White Claw. As smooth, if not slightly smoother, than lemon-flavored Strong Zero from Japan. Specifically the lemon flavor, though. The grapefruit flavor is still smoother than this. And, you know, it's getting me a pretty good buzz. The carbonation is not heavy enough to really make me burp and stuff like that kind of thing, which is a benefit. And whatnot. Like if you have acid reflux and stuff like that kind of thing, you don't want to drink like super heavy carbonated stuff. Although I think if you have acid reflux, probably just any cider is going to bother you in all honesty. But I've heard like especially heavily carbonated ciders definitely bother more, and especially ones with a lot of sugar. But this is just such a mild flavor. It's such a mild flavor that honestly, while I don't think I would ever call this cider my favorite, what I can say is that it is a very solid cider that personally I am really enjoying, and it's a cider that I can absolutely see myself buying more of in the future and reaching towards in the future. This cider, this would be fantastic to day drink in a public park with. This would be great to drink in a public park, frankly put. Yeah. It's just going to get you a buzz, no sugar. You're not going to start feeling like you need to fall asleep after it. I'm enjoying it. Let me just put it that way. I'm enjoying this cider. Definitely towards the bottom. You can definitely tell there's a little bit more alcohol. It hit just a little bit hard on that last sip. And definitely just a little bit more flavor came through. What would I describe the flavor of this cider as? You know, I've been talking about the cider for a minute, but I haven't actually discussed what the flavor itself is actually like. I've said it's mild. I haven't talked about what it's actually like. So what is the flavor of this cider actually like? Well, I would say, as said, it's crazy mild. And really the up top taste is water. Really, truly, the up top taste, the taste at the forefront of this hard cider is water. Most of the time, I would say, for 99% of hard ciders I've tried, the upfront taste of a cider is either citrus or sugar. Not in this case. Not in this case. It's instead just like water. Yeah, that's the upfront, just main taste of the flavor of this hard cider. After that, I would say you get the slightest bit of a sour, semi-sweet, slightly, very slightly bitter flavor. With, once again, water, a little bit of apple, citrusy sort of flavor. And that's it. There's really like no main distinguishing anything about the flavor. It's just like, it really tastes like watered down cider, but like, not in a bad way. Like, I don't mean watered down cider in a bad way. I just mean it tastes like watered down cider, and that's just kind of the fact of the matter. Which is so odd. It's so odd. Because I've never had a cider that does this before. I've never had a cider that just tastes watered down. But that's really, truly what this cider tastes like. Which is really weird. I am definitely starting to feel a buzz now. The 8.2% is hitting without a doubt. And I am enjoying it. Let's grab a thumbnail real quick. I already did that, but I'm going to grab another. Is there anything else to mention about the flavor? Okay. I feel like there's a little bit more to mention about the flavor, so I'm going to really take the next couple moments. Just think about it just a little bit. Try to figure out what the true flavor is and let y'all know. Because I'm doing a review today. I got to let y'all know everything I can let y'all know. Definitely when you let it rest on your tongue, you get a little bit more flavor, but really not much more. Really, the main taste overall is just watered down. It's just water. Really, the main flavor I get just at the very top of the flavor of this hard cider really is just water. I've never had another Imperial Dry cider before. For all I know, this is the standard of Imperial Dries. I have no idea. Excuse me. But every other hard cider that defines itself as being a dry was dry, but it definitely didn't taste like watered down kind of thing. It tasted like cider that was dry. Not like sickly sweet, just dry kind of thing. And this certainly does not taste sickly sweet. I definitely prefer this over Strongbow. There's no question in my mind. I prefer this over Strongbow. This might honestly go into my top 5, if not my top 5, my top 10. Yeah. It's just that unique, and for what it is, it's very, very, very interesting and very solid. Like, it's just getting me a buzz. And I'm just feeling really good right now. I'm feeling warm, feeling comfortable, feeling good kind of thing. Enjoying a cider. No crazy taste going on, but I'm just enjoying getting a buzz, just enjoying sipping away and drinking. Sure, it certainly pairs pretty well with one of these as well. I will acknowledge. It definitely does pair pretty well with one of these. Flavor-wise, though, what is it actually like? I've been trying to determine that, and it's so mild, it's so watered down that it's hard to tell. And that's it. I'm not saying watered down in a bad way. That's by design. They know what they're doing, and I think what they did was very smart. They're trying to compete with White Claw. They're trying to be a mass market gas station cider that's competing with like 8% beverages like White Claw in the United States. So why not replicate the same sort of watered down formula, but make it into a cider? That's exactly what they're doing, and it's working, and I'm a fan. Yeah, really the flavor up at the very top, I would have to say, is water. Then after that, a very mild, very slightly, and when I say very slightly, I mean very slightly, sweet, sour, very slightly bitter flavor, with a little bit of citrusiness going on, just the slightest bit. And then after that, just like a normal apple cider, like hard cider sort of flavor, but it's insanely watered down. And that's really the flavor right there. There really is nothing else to say about the flavor. The flavor of the cider is nothing crazy. It's really not. This is, I gotta admit, probably the most tasteless cider I've ever had. It probably, I'm gonna have to say it really is. I despise the standard Bold Rock hard apple cider. I hate it. I don't like it. If you enjoy it, hey, I ain't dissing. It ain't my thing, though. I do not like Bold Rock apple cider. I don't like it. I have only had one Bold Rock that I liked, and it was a limited edition one. But say what I will about Bold Rock, at least it does have flavor. I don't like them, but they do have flavor. Even some of the bad, quote-unquote, ciders I've tried before, which are just bad to me, maybe not bad to everybody else. My perception is just my perception, of course. But some of the ciders that I personally consider to not be it have more flavor than this cider right here. They just have a flavor I don't like. But because this cider has no flavor at all, it's hard to not like. Because it's like, it has no flavor. It just gets me a buzz. Like, it just does the job it's supposed to do. And that's like all there is to it. It gets the job done kind of thing. This has less flavor than Angry Orchard or Bold Rock or Strongbow or especially Stella Artosis or the Citizen Cider Unified Press. It absolutely just doesn't really taste like much of anything. Excuse me. But because of that, it's hard to hate. It really is hard to hate. Excuse me. The burps are starting to come through, though. It is a hard cider after all. But yeah, I gotta admit, I'm impressed. I am impressed. You know, when I first opened up the can, I was kind of in the middle. I was like, I don't know if I like this or not, because it doesn't really taste like anything. The more I drink, though, the more I'm like, you know, I get it. The more I drink, the more I get it. It's definitely not my favorite hard cider. If I was drinking a cider and I wanted a nice flavor, this would not be my choice, without a doubt. But even if this was my only option, I'd still take it, because it's solid. It might not taste like much of anything, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty dang good, and I quite like it. And I think it's really solid. And I don't know if this is going to go in my top 5, but this definitely deserves to go in my top 10 ciders. Like probably around 6 or 7 kind of thing. Probably number 6 or 7, I'm thinking. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to finish off the can at the beginning of this video before I cracked it open. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be finished off the can. Because I was like, if it's so sour and like so like just has like the cider sort of mouthfeel to it kind of thing, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it kind of thing. Because I was genuinely expecting a super sour cider before I cracked it open and before I started drinking. That's not at all what I got. It is one of the easiest to drink ciders I have ever had. Easier to drink than Angry Orchard, no question. It is nothing crazy. It's really nothing special. But at the same time it is, because I've never drank a cider that tastes just like watered down cider. That's really what this tastes like. But due to the fact that it tastes watered down, the alcohol is so smooth. It's 8.2. It's getting me a massive buzz. But like, this cider is not memorable. It's not. It is not memorable. But at the same time, it is memorable because it's not memorable kind of thing. Like, it tastes so watered down and so different from other ciders that it's kind of memorable just because it's so different. Even though it's just like, eh. Like, if somebody handed me this at a cider tasting sort of like place or something like that, I'd be like, okay, this is probably like supposed to be the standard. Like, this is like just like base level. That's what this is taste wise. That's probably what I'd think. This is just like base level, nothing crazy, pretty, makes everybody happy kind of thing. And I really think defining this as a dry cider, I don't know. I've had other dries. This just comes off like and cider. It doesn't come off like it's a sweet cider or a dry cider. It just comes off like and cider, frankly put. But it is definitely drier than not, and you can definitely taste that. You can definitely taste a little bit more sourness than sweetness towards the very bottom. So if you are somebody that despises dry ciders, this will not be for you. If you are somebody that despises sour ciders, this will not be for you. If you like sweet, 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 nothing but the sweetest, this is not going to be for you. Just straight up, just saying it. This is not going to be for you. If your favorite hard ciders are Quarter Lig or Strongbow, this cider is definitely not going to be for you. But if you enjoy trying different ciders, seeing what they're all about, seeing what the flavors they offer are, and stuff like that, I would say the Potter's Craft Cider Imperial Dry Cider might be one worth trying. 8.2%, doesn't really taste like much of anything, but it's kind of unique just due to that factor. It's nothing crazy. It's really not special. But it's kind of worth trying just because of that, frankly put. It's so inoffensive that I can't honestly say anything bad about it. I could say that the fact that it tastes watered down is bad. But for what it's trying to be, it makes so much sense. So I really can't diss it. I really can't diss it. This is not a cider in the traditional sense. This is a cider that is masquerading as a cider, trying to be a White Claw. That's what this is. And it's so inoffensive, just like a lot of White Claw flavors, that it's just hard to hate. It's not bad. It's pretty solid. But it's sure as hell not my favorite. But it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a drink to get you a buzz. And this is sure as hell get me a buzz. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Would I buy another one of these in the future? Excuse me. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I would. Excuse me. The burps are coming through. I am buzzed. The 8% is hitting. I would definitely buy another one of these again. Would I prefer to buy, like, let's say this cider over a White Claw? Like, let's say Blood Orange. Not a White Claw that I don't like the flavor of, like a mixed berry. I hate the flavor of those. But like, let's say a Blood Orange, which is a flavor I don't mind. Would I prefer to buy this or a White Claw? I don't know. It kind of just depends on what I feel like that day. I feel about the same about both of them. I think both of them are equally as good. It's just like depends on what I want that day kind of thing. If I want a cider, I'll get this. If I don't want a cider, I'll get like a White Claw Surge 8% or something like that kind of thing. I will say though, I still would much rather have a strong 0.9% from Japan. I would still much rather have one of those. As far as like tall boy can, strong, like not 8 to 9% drinks go, the lemon flavor, strong 0, is still above this, and the grapefruit flavor, strong 0, definitely as well, still above this. I love the grapefruit flavor, strong 0. It's so good. It's one of my favorite strong drinks. Like strong, like tall boy can drinks of all time, if not my absolute favorite. The strong 0 pink shot, goated. Ooh, at the very end there was definitely a little bit of alcohol though, but not too big of a deal. Well, that's all there was to my cider. I finished off the entire drink. Legitimately, at the beginning of this video, I was not sure if I was going to be finishing off this entire drink today. But I did. And I have quite the buzz, without a doubt. I thoroughly enjoyed this experience. And now that I finished off my bev, I think it's time for me to cover my final thoughts on, well, this experience. So how was it? How was this experience? Did I enjoy the Potter's hard cider 8.2% that I had today? Did I enjoy the strongest cider I've ever seen today? Yeah, I did. No, I enjoyed it. Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I'd buy another one. Yeah. I would absolutely buy another one in the future. No question in my mind. It wouldn't be something that I'd reach for over, like, let's say, a whiskey highball, or, like, let's say, something along those lines, like a mixed drink that I really love. I'd probably still much rather have one of those. So, like, if I'm at home and I have a cup and, like, my mixers and stuff like that right there, I'm probably still going to be drinking, like, a whiskey highball, frankly put. But, like, if I want to go day drink in a public park and I want to go get a massive buzz kind of thing, I would just want to go chill in a public park, get a big-ass buzz, and just be chilling for a little while, walking around, drinking and stuff like that. This is absolutely something I would buy again for that scenario. No question in my mind. No question in my mind. I'd probably reach for that cider, for the cider I was just holding, for the cider I drank today, more than a White Claw Surge Blood Orange, and more than a Truly Unruly, and, well, maybe not more than a Strong Zero, but those are also not sold here. The 9% are not sold here. I hope they introduce those soon, though, because I love 9% Strong Zero in the United States. You hearing this, Suntory? You watching the video? Brings 9% Strong Zeros to the United States. I'm buzzed. Overall, though, what are my final thoughts? Do I think it's a solid cider? Yeah. No, I do think it's a solid cider. It's different. It tastes watered down. And due to that, it's super smooth. If you are used to the classic cider sweetness, mouthfeel, and flavor, this will be a very different experience. But due to it being a different experience, I do think if you're a cider enthusiast, it might be worth trying. So is it a solid cider? I'd have to say it is, without a doubt. Is it very different from other ciders? Most certainly. Is it a cider that I enjoy drinking? Yeah, no, it is. Is it my new favorite cider of all time? Absolutely not. It is absolutely not my new favorite cider of all time. You know, if they made this cider 8% and gave me, like, a really solid taste to go along with it, I'd be like, holy crap, this might be, like, my new favorite cider of all time. But they didn't. It tastes like it's watered down. And honestly, I'm kind of glad they did. Because a lot of, like, the really tasty ciders I've had have some amount of sugar in them. Those might not be in the biggest cans or bottles, but this is 568 milliliters. This is a tall boy can. It's a tall boy can. Honestly, if there was, like, tons of sugar in that, I'd probably feel like crap right now, frankly. I would probably feel like crap. I think doing a tall boy of hard cider with tons of sugar in it is a terrible idea. So honestly, I am really glad. I am very glad that there isn't any sugar in this. It says 0 sugar. I don't know if it's 0 added sugar or just 0 sugar in general, but yeah, the 0 sugar definitely, absolutely made this a more enjoyable experience, because I would be feeling so tired, so out of it, just not feeling great if I had drank this and there was tons of sugar in it, kind of thing. Like, for a Strongbow, I can have one of them and that's it. Like, if I want more drinks after that, I drink, like, highballs kind of thing. No, yeah, I quite like the Potter's Craft Cider. I think it's pretty solid. You know, it tastes a little bit watered down, but yeah, solid. Definitely not my favorite cider of all time. Without a doubt. Absolutely not my favorite cider of all time. But absolutely a cider I'd buy another one of it in the future. Especially for the price I paid. I'm like $3.50 for a single. Not bad if I do say so myself. And definitely a cider that, while I probably wouldn't drink it at home, I definitely would drink it at a public park while I'm wanting to walk around or just sit down or something like that kind of thing. Yeah. My final thoughts on this cider. Unique because it tastes watered down. Nothing crazy because it's kind of watered down, but it's 8%. It's pretty good to probably drink at a public park. It's a nice outdoor drink. And, you know, it's not my favorite hard cider ever, nor will it ever be, but it's solid. It's solid. And I can definitely see myself buying another one in the future. No question in my mind. What's the rating I want to give it? What rating do I want to give this cider right here? I'm thinking a very solid 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I think it deserves a 7 out of 10. That's about right. A 7 out of 10. And I don't mean 7 out of 10 in a bad way. I mean 7 out of 10 as in it's good. But like 8 out of 10 is like really good. 9 out of 10 is like, oh my God. And 10 out of 10 is like a masterpiece kind of thing. 7 out of 10 is just like, yeah, it's good. And that's all. And yeah, I would have to say this is good. Like a 6 out of 10 is like fine. Yeah. 5 out of 10 is average. Like this is definitely above average in my personal opinion. But it's just good. And so I think a 7 out of 10 is definitely deserving for the Potter's Craft Cider. That's kind of my take. A 7 out of 10 for it. And that's really all I had to say for this video today. Yeah, I'm buzzed. I'm buzzed. And I overall can say without a doubt, I had a solid time. No complaints on my behalf. None at all. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed the Potter's Craft Cider I had today. And I'm buzzed. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have ever tried the Potter's Craft Cider, any other varieties, including this one before. Let me know what you guys thought of them if you guys have tried them. And is there anything else I wanted to mention? Yeah. Nah, I had a good time today. Got me a good alcohol buzz. I had a great time. Thoroughly enjoyed my experience. No complaints. Let me just put it that way. No complaints on my behalf about this experience today. As said, like, subscribe. Check out everything in the description down below. And I think that's all I wanted to say. So to the next one, stay safe and peace, and have a great one.